Go.
We are live.
Yay! I made it through the week. I'm still living. Knock on wood. Sorry about Monday. Sorry about Wednesday. I had bronchitis. Could not carry on a conversation for a very long time without just coughing my brains out. So you're stuck with seeing my face only once this week, and hopefully next week we can kind of kick back to going back into normal mode. I am old new dude, and he is.
Richard York, Asher's trueborn son.
Yay. We got Chris waving from the wall. And then we got Mother Baggins waving from the land of potatoes. That was for Chris. It's one of his favorite lines in the Lord of the Rings. But we are what Sam to a Storm of Swords.
We've got Lady Thistle here. Waving from the
hey!
Wikipedia page. And corn.
Oh, Charles.
Corn. Waving from the Three Singers.
Yeah, I was sitting there going through, looking at the YouTube channel. It doesn't tell me when people leave comments on the YouTube videos. So I'm looking, and then there's Lady Thistle, Lady Thistle, Lady Thistle, Lady Thistle, Lady Thistle, Lady Thistle. And it's like right before I'm getting ready to come on here, and I'm like, I can't answer. So I just hearted and hit the like button. Waving from the back of a gator. Oh.
All right. Oh, yep, sorry. There you go.
It's all right. I was watching the videos today, and they were showing it was called the Florida residency checklist, and it had a guy calling a gator to the side of a boat, and he's like, no, you got to get up here. The gator gets, it's not a big one, it's like 6 feet, which I mean you can still probably consider that big, and it gets up there, it's got his front legs on the edge of the boat, and the guy gives him a piece of chicken or whatever, and then the guy goes like this, reaches and just starts scratching the back of the gator's head. He puts his head straight down, closes his eyes, and is just sitting there loving every minute of it. And then the guy stops and says, okay, you can go on. And then the gator drops down in the water, just keeps on swimming. I'm like, no, that's okay. They're cool to look at on TV and Gatorland, whatever. I don't care, but no, I'm not touching a live one.
Yeah, I watched one of those Reptile World shows, and the one up near South Dakota, and I was like, they had crocodiles in with the alligators and a handler in there feeding them, and I was like, really? Oh, and by the way, Lizzie said Jeffrey is the torment of the Florida swamps. That's why I kind of chuckled while you were talking. Bath salt king of muddy halls, says Lady Thistle. All right, well, this is a pretty long one, so and I got a few sentences here or there, but I kept most of the chapter, so it's probably going to take us a while.
All right.
All animals are dogs. Okay. Severian seems to think so. Anyway, or I should say GW's translation of Severian, Book of the New Sun. His dog in that book, that he finds a dog and nurses it back to health, or maybe resurrects it, considering that he resurrects things. But anyway, it's meant to be deliberately ambiguous and so forth. But that his dog, at one point, you find out that his dog is like, it's like bigger than a person, and all teeth, and it's like, it's not a dog at all. It's some giant monster. Yep. Anyway, all right. Up in the loft, a woman was giving birth noisily, while below a man lay dying by the fire. Samuel Tarley could not say which frightened him more. Only death can pay for life. They'd covered poor Bannon with a pile of furs and stoked the fire high, yet all he could say was, "I'm cold, please, I'm so cold." Sam was trying to feed him onion broth, but he could not swallow. The broth dribbled over his lips and down his chin as fast as Sam could spit it in. "That one's dead." Craster eyed the man with indifference as he worried the sausage. "Be kinder to stick a knife in its chest than that spoon down its throat, you ask me." "I don't recall as we did." Giant was no more than 5 feet tall. His true name was Bedwick, but a fierce little man for all that. Slayer, did you ask Craster for his counsel? Sam cringed at the name, but shook his head. He filled another spoon, brought it to Bannon's mouth, and tried to ease it between his lips. Food and fire, Giant was saying. That was all we asked of you, and you grudge us the food. Be glad I didn't grudge you fire, too. Craster was a thick man, made thicker by the ragged, smelly sheepskins he wore day and night. He had a broad, flat nose, a mouth that drooped to one side, and a missing ear. And though his matted hair and tangled beard might be gray going white, his hard, knuckly hands still looked strong enough to hurt. Gray going white sounds almost silver. Anyway, I fed you what I could, but you crows are always hungry. I'm a godly man, else I would have chased you off. You think I need the likes of him dying on my floor? You think I need all your mouths, little man? Well, then spat. Crows, when did a blackbird ever bring good to a man's hall, I ask you? Never, never. Never? Never? Are you sure you're not thinking of the raven? More broth ran from the corner of Bannon's mouth. Sam dabbed away with the corner of his sleeve. I'm cold, he said again, so faintly. A maester might have known how to save him, but they had no maester. Kedge Wideye had taken Bannon's mangled foot off 9 days past in a gout of pus and blood that made Sam sick, but it was too little too late. I'm so cold, the pale lips repeated. About the hall, a ragged score of black brothers squatted on the floor or sat on rough-hewn benches, drinking cups of the same thin onion broth and gnawing on chunks of hard bread. A couple were wounded worse than Bannon to look at them. When they left Castle Black, Brown Bernard had been carrying bags of Mirish fire, mustard salve, ground garlic, tansy, poppy, king's copper, and other healing herbs. Even Sweet Sleep, which gave the gift of painless death, where Brown Bernard had died on the fist and no one had thought to search for Maester Amon's medicines. Hake had known some herblore as well, being a cook, but Hake was also lost. So it was left to the surviving stewards to do what they could for the wounded, which was little enough. At least they're dry here with a fire to warm them. They need more food, though. They all needed more food. Clumpa Carl kept saying how Craster had to have a hidden larder, and Garth of Oldtown had begun to echo him when he was out of the Lord Commander's hearing. Sam had thought of begging for something more nourishing for the wounded men at least, but he did not have the courage. Craster's eyes were cold and mean, and whenever the wildling looked his way, his hands twitched a little, as if they wanted to curl up into fists. Does he know I spoke to Gilly last time we were here? He wondered. Did she tell him I had said we'd take her? Did he beat it out of her? I'm cold, said Bannon. Please, I'm cold. For all the heat and smoke in Craster's hall, Sam felt cold himself, and tired, so tired. He needed sleep, but whenever he closed his eyes, he dreamed of blowing snow and dead men shambling toward him with black hands and bright blue eyes. Up in the loft, Gilly let out a shuddering sob that echoed down the long, low, windowless hall. Push, he heard one of Craster's older wives tell her. Harder, harder. Scream if it helps. She did, so loud it made Sam wince. Craster turned his head to glare. I've had a bellyful of that shrieking. Give her a rag to bite down on, or I'll come up there and give her a taste of my hand. He would too, Sam knew. Craster had 19 wives, but none who dare interfere once he started up that ladder. No more than the Black Brothers had 2 nights past when he was beating one of the younger girls. There had been mutterings, to be sure. He's killing her, Garth Greenway had said, and Clumpa Carl laughed and said, if you don't want the little sweetmeat, he could give her to me. Black Bernard cursed in a low, angry voice, and Alan of Rosby got up and went outside so he wouldn't have to hear. His roof, his rule, the Ranger Ronald Harclay had reminded him. Craster's a friend of the watch. A friend, thought Sam as he listened to Gilly's muffled shrieks. Craster was a brutal man who ruled his wives and daughters with an iron hand, but his keep was a refuge all the same. Frozen crows, Craster sneered when they straggled in, those 2 had survived the snow, the whites, and the bitter cold, and not so big a flock as went north, neither. Yet he had given them space on his floor, a roof to keep the snow off, a fire to dry them out, and his wives had brought them cups of hot wine to put some warmth in their bellies. Bloody crows, he called them, but he'd fed them too, meager though the fare might be. We are guests, Sam reminded himself. Gilly is his daughter, his wife, his roof, his rule. The first time he'd seen Craster's keep, Gilly had come begging for help, and Sam had lent her his black cloak to conceal her belly when she went to find Jon Snow. Knights are supposed to defend women and children. Only a few of the Black Brothers were knights, but even so, we all say the words, Sam thought. I am the shield that guards the realms of men. A woman was a woman, even a wildling woman. We should help her. We should. It was her child Gilly feared for. She was frightened that it might be a boy. Craster raised up his daughters to be his wives, but there were neither men nor boys to be seen about his compound. Gilly had told John that Craster gave his sons to the gods. If the gods are good, they will send her a daughter, Sam prayed. The gods are seldom good. Up in the loft, Gilly choked back a scream. That's it, a woman said. Another push now. Oh, I see his head. Hers, Sam thought miserably. Her head, hers. Cold, said Bannon weakly. Please, I'm so cold. Sam put the bowl and spoon aside, tossed another fur across the dying man, put another stick on the fire. Gilly gave a shriek and began to pant. Craster gnawed on his hard black sausage. He had sausages for himself and his wives, he said, but none for the watch. Woman, he complained, the way they wail. I had me a fat sow once birthed a litter of 8 with no more to grunt. Chewing, he turned his head to squint contemptuously at Sam. She was near as fat as you, boy. Slayer, he laughed. It was more than Sam could stand. He stumbled away from the fire pit, stepped awkwardly over and around the men sleeping and squatting and dying upon the hard-packed earthen floor. Bending his head, he pushed through the hanging deer-hide flaps that served Craster for a door and stepped out in the afternoon. The day was cloudy, but still bright enough to blind him after the gloom of the hall. The storm had passed on, and the days at Craster's Keep had been, well, not warm perhaps, but not so bitter cold. Sam could hear the soft drip, drip, drip of water melting off the icicles that bearded the edge of the thick sod roof. He took a deep, shuddering breath and looked around. To the west, Allo Lophand and Tim Stone were moving through the horse lines, feeding and watering the remaining garrons. Downwind, other brothers were skinning and butchering the animals deemed too weak to go on. Spearmen and archers walked sentry behind the earthen dikes that were Craster's only defense against whatever hid in the wood beyond, while a dozen fire pits sent up thick fingers of blue-gray smoke. Sam could hear the distant echoes of axes at work in the forest, where a work detail was harvesting enough wood to keep the blazes burning all through the night. Nights were the bad time, when it got dark and cold. There'd been no
burning
attacks.
night fires.
Yeah, like Valor, yep.
Yeah.
There'd been no attacks while they had been at Craster's. Which makes you wonder if that's a practice that's left over from the long night days.
Yeah.
There'd been no attacks while they had been at Craster's, neither whites nor others. Nor would there be, Craster said. A godly man got no cause to fear such. I said as much to that Mance Raider once, when he came sniffing around. He never listened. No more new crows with your swords and your bloody fires. That won't help you none when the white cold comes. Only the gods will help you then. You best get right with the gods. Gilly had spoken of the white cold as well, and she'd told them what sort of offerings Craster made to his gods. Sam had wanted to kill him when he heard. There are no laws beyond the wall, he reminded himself, and Craster's a friend of the watch. A ragged shout went up from behind the Daub and Wattle Hall. Sam went to take a look. The ground beneath his feet was a slush of melting snow and soft mud that Dolorous Ed insisted was made of Craster's shit. It was thicker than shit, though. It sucked at Sam's boots so hard he felt one pull loose. So Wattle is wood and Daub is sticky material, often including shit. So Ed is probably correct. This is a house of shit.
Mm-hmm.
In back of a vegetable, the inn was missing from. It's missing from my copy of the book, but anyway, in back of a vegetable garden, an empty sheepfold, a dozen black brothers were loosing arrows in a butt they'd built of hay and straw. The slender blonde steward they called Sweet Donald had laid a shaft just off the bullseye at 50 yards. Best that, old man, he said. Aye, I will. Ulmer stooped and gray-bearded and loosed of skin and limb, stepped to the mark and pulled an arrow from the quiver at his waist. In his youth, he'd been an outlaw, a member of the infamous Kingswood Brotherhood. He claimed he once put an arrow through the hand of the white bull of the Kingsguard to steal a kiss from the lips of a Dornish princess.
Mm-hmm.
He stole her jewels, too, and a chest of golden dragons. It was the kiss he liked to boast of in his cups. So Toodles claims that the hand wound festered and cost him half his hand. Corin is symbolically and literally the white bull. He notched and drew, all smooth as summer silk, then let fly. His shaft struck the butt an inch inside of Donald Hills. Will that do, lad? He asked, stepping back. Well enough, said the younger man grudgingly. The crosswind helped you. It blew more strongly when I loosed. You ought to have allowed for it then. You have a good eye and a steady hand, but you'll need a deal more to best the man of the Kingswood. Fletcher Dick it was who showed me how to bend the bow. No finer archer ever lived. Have I told you about old Dick now? Only 300 times. Every man at Castle Black had heard Ulmer's tales of the great outlaw band of yore. Simon Toyne, the Smiling Knight, Osmond Longneck, the thrice hanged, Wend of the White Fawn, Fletcher Dick.
All the rest. Oh, that's the animal hospital. I gotta take that.
All right. that would be timeout. We didn't get to talk Wednesday about theories, and I was sitting there trying to remember. I thought I wrote it down, but I was sitting there trying to remember. It is the Sorella Alaris, and was Danny pregnant? So this coming Wednesday, hoping, knock on wood, everything goes according to plan, and we're back on schedule. I have Lizzie and Lady Thistle.
Hey, sorry about that.
That's okay. I just tell them that next Wednesday we'll try to do the theories that we were supposed to do this last Wednesday.
Leo just got out of surgery and everything went well.
All right, good.
Yep. All right. Where were we? Only 300 times that we did that? Yep. Even every man at Castle Black had heard Omer's tales of the great outlaw band of yore, of Simon Toyne and the Smiling Knight, Oswin Longneck the Thrice Hanged, Wenda the White Fawn, Fletcher Dick, Big Belly Ben, and all the rest. So the Smiling Knight is probably a reference to the Joker. Oswin kind of has to remind us of Barrack, right? The Thrice Hanged. Some think Wenda might be Septa Lamore. I used to think Raella was Quaith and Ashara was Lamore, but I've swapped those. Hey, what did we hide here? All animals are dogs. Happy appointment went well, Richard. All went well. Ah, yes. Yes. Happy all went well. Yep. Yep. Good for Leo. Though apparently it's going to be months before he's fully healed. Anyway, that's some notes on some of those people. I've always wondered about the Big Belly Ben. I think we hear some more about him later, but anyway. Searching for escape, sweet, because he kind of reminds me of maybe because people sometimes refer to Robert Baratheon as Big Bobby B. So kind of reminds me of
Big Belly
Robert just because of that, because some people call him Big Bobby B. Anyway, searching for escape, Sweet Donald looked about and spied Sam standing in the muck. Slayer, he called. Come, show us how you slew the other. He held out the tall yew longbow. Sam turned red. It wasn't an arrow, it was a dagger, dragon glass. No matter, said Alan of Rosby, another fine bowman. We're all keen to see a slayer shoot, aren't we, lads? He could not face them, the mocking smiles, the mean little jests, the contempt in their eyes. Sam turned to go back the way he'd come, but his right foot sank deep in the muck, and when he tried to pull it out, his boot came off. He had to kneel to wrench it free, laughter ringing in his ears. Despite all his socks, the snow melt had soaked through to his toes by the time he made his escape. Useless, he thought miserably. My father saw me true. I have no right to be alive when so many brave men are dead. Gren was tending the fire pit south of the compound gate, stripped to the waist as he split logs. His face was red with exertion, the sweat steaming off his skin, but he grinned as Sam came chuffing up. Others get your boot, Slayer? Him too? It was the mud. Please don't call me that. Why not? Gren sounded honestly puzzled. It's a good name, and you came by it fairly. Pip always teased Gren about being thick as the castle wall, so Sam explained patiently. It's just a different way of calling me a coward, he said, standing on his left leg and wriggling back into his muddy boot. They're mocking me the same way they mock Bedwick by calling him giant. So, of course, this is a reference that makes people think that Gren might be a descendant of Sir Duncan the Tall.
Yeah. There'll be quite a few descendants of Sir Duncan the Tall.
Well, yes. Anyway.
I think left and right. Yeah, I think left and right
makes more sense.
Yeah, left and right, I think, are descendants of Duncan.
Yeah, it makes more sense because their height being almost specifically like his. Yeah. Yeah. He's not a giant, though, said Gren. And Paul was never small. Well, maybe when he was a babe at the breast, but not after. You did slay the other, though, so it's not the same. I was scared. No more than me. It's only Pip who says I'm too dumb to be frightened. I get as frightened as anyone. Gren bent to scoop up a split log and tossed it into the fire. I used to be scared of John whenever I had to fight him. He was so quick and he fought like he meant to kill me. The green damp wood sat in the flames, smoking before it took fire. I never said, though. Sometimes I think everyone's just pretending to be brave, and none of us really are. Maybe pretending is how you get brave. I don't know. Let them call you Slayer. Who cares? That sure sounds like sure sounds like he is brave because you have to be. That's the only time a man can be brave anyway.
Be scared. Yes.
You never liked Sir Alistair to call you Arx. He was saying I was big and stupid. Gren scratched his beard. If Pip wanted to call me Arx, though, he could, or you, or John. And Arx is a fierce, strong beast, so that's not so bad. And I am big. I'm getting bigger. Wouldn't you rather be Sam the Slayer than Sir Piggy? Why can't I just be Samuel Tarley? He sat down heavily on a wet log that Gren had yet to split. It was the dragon glass that slew it, not me, the dragon glass. He had told them. Some of them didn't believe him, he knew. Dirk had shown Sam his dirk and said, I got iron. What do I want with glass? Black Bernard and the three Garths made it plain that they doubted his whole story, and Raleigh of Sisterton came right out and said, more like you stabbed some rustling bushes and it turned out to be Small Paul taking a shit, so you come up with a lie. But Dywin listened, and Dollar said, and they made Sam and Gren tell the Lord Commander. Mormont frowned all through the tale and asked pointed questions, but he was too cautious a man to shun any possible advantage. He asked Sam for all the dragon glass in his pack, though that was little enough. Whenever Sam thought of the cache John had found buried beneath the fist, it made him want to cry. There'd been dagger blades and spearheads and 200 or 300 arrowheads at least. John had made daggers for himself, Sam, and Lord Commander Mormont, and he'd given Sam a spearhead, an old broken horn, and some arrowheads. Gren had taken a handful of arrowheads as well, but that was all. Did you see that Eldrick put out another video?
No, I didn't. Did he? When did he put it out?
Yeah. A few days ago, I think. Maybe over the weekend, but maybe it was sometime within the past week. Anyway, the reason I mention it is he talks about the horn, and in particular, he shows that I've been saying that it's consistent that anyone that goes through a wall that's symbolically the wall, there's always a horn blowing. Well, he shows that there's actually a lot of times when there's a horn blowing and symbolically a giant awakes from the earth, including he reads through some examples, and I'm like, oh yeah, that is what's being said there. So it's really interesting how he says, and this is symbolically a giant waking from. So yeah, those are some really good examples. I was like, yeah, that's there too. It sure seems like it's both, right? Like it sure seems like George has planted clues that it's both the wall, opening or being able to pass through it, and the walls. Sometimes the walls shake from the horns, but it's also giants waking from the. So it's
there's
really,
not a lot of
really,
channels I watch anymore, but I do like watching his.
Yeah, it was really good examples. I really liked his presentation of that. Anyway,
I'll try to watch it. I'll do my best to watch it before Monday. That way we can comment on it.
Sounds good. So now all they had was Mormont's dagger and the one Sam had given Gren, plus 19 arrows and a tall hardwood spear with a black dragonglass head. The sentries passed the spear along from watch to watch while Mormont had divided the arrows among his best bowmen. Muttering Bill, Garth Greyfeather, Ronald Harclay, Sweet Donald Hill, and Alan of Rossby had 3 apiece, and Ulmer had 4. But even if they made every shaft tell, they'd soon be down to fire arrows like all the rest. They had loosed hundreds of fire arrows in the fist, yet still the whites kept coming. It will not be enough, Sam thought. Craster's sloping palisades of mud and melting snow would hardly slow the whites, who climbed the much steeper slopes of the fist to swarm over the ring wall. Instead of 300 brothers drawn up in disciplined ranks to meet them, the whites would find 41 ragged survivors, 9 too badly hurt to fight. 44 had come straggling into Craster's out of the storm, out of the 60-odd who'd cut their way free of the fist, but 3 of those who died their wounds, and Bannon would soon make 4. Do you think the whites are gone? Sam asked Gren. Why don't they come finish us? They only come when it's cold. Yes, said Sam, but is it the cold that brings the whites, or the whites that bring the cold? Who cares? Gren's axe sent wood chips flying. They come together, that's what matters. Hey, now that we know that dragonglass kills them, maybe they won't come at all. Maybe they're frightened of us now. Sam wished he could believe that, but it seemed to him that when you were dead, fear had no more meaning than pain or love or duty. The dragonglass dagger had melted the pale thing in the woods, true, but Gren was talking like it would do the same to the whites. We don't know that, he thought. We don't know anything, really. I wish John was here. He liked Gren, but he couldn't talk to him the same way. John wouldn't call me Slayer, I know. And I could talk to him about Gilly's baby. John had ridden off with Corin Halfhand, though. They'd had no word of him since. He had a dragonglass dagger, too, but did he think to use it? Is he lying dead and frozen in some ravine? Or worse, is he dead and walking? He could not understand why the gods would want to take Jon Snow and Bannon and leave him, craven and clumsy as he was. He should have died in the fist, where he pissed himself 3 times and lost his sword besides. And he would have died in the woods if Small Paul had not come along to carry him. I wish it was all a dream. How fine that would be to wake back on the fists of the first men with all his brothers still around him, even Jon and Ghost. Or even better, to wake in Castle Black behind the wall and go to the common room for a bowl of 3-finger Hobbs thick cream of wheat, with a big spoon of butter melted in the middle and a dollop of honey besides.
Hey,
Snow.
My theory is that the whites and the White Walkers aren't on the same side. It's the children of the forest that are controlling the whites. That's why you don't see them on the page at the same time. A wrinkle in that just happened with why don't either one of them attack Crasters? If he's in good
Right.
with the White Walkers and the whites are controlled by the children of the forest, then why doesn't the whites attack? Do you think there's any possibly if he like is Bloodraven's child, not Aemon's, as far as Craster that is?
Yeah, definitely think it's possible.
If there's some old magic or he makes sacrifices to the White Walkers. Is there something else that could be happening that would keep the? Is it Bloodraven making the children of the forest keep the whites away? Because they're at the moment kind of symbiotic in their little cave. Is that a deal that the children of the forest made? Like, we won't kill your son, type thing. So I don't know. It popped in my head. I don't know what to think about it.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. You're asking, is somehow Bloodraven is responsible for this and he's protecting his son? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. And of course, I do think that George likes multiple interpretations to be correct. So perhaps that's one that he would consider valid.
Well, I mean, anytime thinking of something new, I sit there and try to come at it as many different angles as I can.
Sure.
To see which one seems more plausible, which one might have something in the book to support it. And on this, I don't think we have anything really solid in the book to support any of it. It's just speculation.
Yeah. It's like, it is weird that this works, right? It's especially considering that he's like giving them sheep and stuff.
Yeah, see, that's my thing. I mean, granted, the practice of giving
it's weird.
Giving them the children is for a certain type of magic, but if he can give them sheep when he doesn't have sons, then it can't be that important. I mean, it's still
that's where the
blood
whole thing
magic.
gets a little weird. Yeah. Snow. Sam glanced up at the sound. Lord Commander Mormont's raven was circling the fire, beating the air with wide black wings. Snow, the bird called. Snow, snow. Wherever the raven went, Mormont soon followed. The Lord Commander emerged from beneath the trees, mounted on his Garen between the old Dywin and the fox-faced ranger Ronald Harclay, been raised to Thorin Smallwood's place. The spearman at the gate shouted a challenge, and the old bear returned a gruff, "Who in 7 hells do you think goes there? Did the others take your eyes?" He rode between the gate posts, one bearing a ram's skull and the other the skull of a bear, then reined up, raised a fist, and whistled. The raven came, flapping down at his call. "My lord," Sam heard Ronald Harclay say, "we have only 22 mounts, and I doubt half will reach the wall." "I know that," Mormont grumbled. "We must go all the same. Craster's made that plain." He glanced to the west, where a bank of dark clouds hid the sun. "The gods gave us a respite, but for how long?" Mormont swung down from the saddle, jolting his raven back into the air. He saw Sam then and bellowed, "Tarly!" "Me?" Sam got awkwardly to his feet. "Me?" The raven landed on the old man's head. "Me? Is your name Tarly? Do you have a brother hereabouts?" "Yes, you. Close your mouth and come with me." "With you?" The words tumbled out in a squeak. Commander Mormont gave him a withering look. "You are a man of the night's watch. Try not to soil your small clothes every time I look at you." "Come," I said. His boots made squishing sounds in the mud, and Sam had to hurry to keep up. "I've been thinking about this dragon glass of yours." "It's not mine," Sam said. "Jon Snow's dragon glass, then." "If dragon glass dagger is what we need, why do we have only 2 of them?" Every man on the wall should be armed with one the day he says his words. We never knew. We never knew. But we must have known once. The Night's Watch has forgotten its true purpose, Tarly. You don't build a wall 700 feet high to keep savages in skins from stealing women. The wall was made to guard the realms of men, not against other men, which is all the wildlings are when you come right down to it. Too many years, Tarly, too many hundreds and thousands of years. We lost sight of the true enemy. And now he's here, but we don't know how to fight him. Is dragonglass made by dragons, as the small folk like to say? The maesters think not. The maesters say it comes from the fires of the earth. They call it obsidian. Ormond snorted. They can call it lemon pie for all I care. If it kills as you claim, I want more of it.
Lemon pie. Yeah, as long as it kills. The lemon sauce at the wedding. Never mind.
No. It does kind of hearken to the lemon tree and so forth.
Yeah.
Or maybe to Sansa. I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking the lemon sauce on the pigeon pie that kills Joffrey.
Okay. Sam stumbled. John found more on the fist, hundreds of arrowheads, spearheads as well. So you said. Small good it does us there. To reach the fist again, we need to be armed with weapons we won't have until we reach the bloody fist. And there are still the wildlings to deal with. We need to find dragonglass someplace else. Sam had almost forgotten about the wildlings, so much had happened since. The children of the forest use dragonglass blades, he said. They know where to find obsidian. The children of the forest are all dead, said Mormont. First men killed half of them with bronze blades, and the Andals finished the job with iron. Why, a glass dagger should... So, of course, our characters are often wrong.
Yeah.
And we know he's wrong here.
Yeah.
The old bear broke off as Craster emerged from between the deer hide flaps of his door. The wildling smiled, revealing his mouth of brown, rotten teeth. I have a son! Son, called Mormont's Raven. Son! Lord Commander's face was stiff. I'm glad for you. Are you now? Me, I'm glad when you and yours are gone. Past time, I'm thinking. As soon as our wounded are strong enough, they're strong as they're like to get, old crow. Both of us know it. Them that's dying, you know them too. Cut their bloody throats and be done with it, or leave them if you don't have the stomach, and I'll sort them out myself. Hey, Girl Nettles is here.
Hey, Nettles.
Hey, Lick Spittles. Lord Commander Mormont bristled. Thorin Smallwood claimed you were a friend of the Watch. Aye, said Craster. I gave you all I could spare, but winter's coming on, and now the girls stuck me with another squalling mouth to feed. We could take him, someone squeaked. Craster's head turned, his eyes narrowed. He spat on Sam's foot. What did you say, Slayer? Sam opened and closed his mouth. Of course, that sounds kind of like intervention, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
I only meant if you didn't want him, his mouth to feed, with winter coming on, we could take him. And my son, my blood, you think I'd give him to you crows? I only thought, you have no sons, you expose them. Gilly said as much. You leave them in the woods. That's why you have only wives here and daughters who grow up to be wives. Be quiet, Sam, said Lord Commander Mormont. You said enough. Too much. Inside. My lord, inside. Red-faced, Sam pushed through the deer hides back into the gloom of the hall. Mormont followed. How great a fool are you, the old man said his voice choked and angry. Even if Craster gives a child, he'd be dead before we reach the wall. We need a newborn babe to care for near as much as we need more snow. Do you have milk to feed him in those big teats of yours? Or did you mean to take the mother, too? She wants to come, Sam said. She begged me. Mormont raised a hand. I will hear no more of this, Tarly. You've been told to stay well away from Craster's wives. She's his daughter, Sam said feebly. Go see to Bannon, now, before you make me wroth. Yes, my lord, Sam hurried off, quivering. But when he reached the fire, it was only to find Giant pulling a fur cloak up over Bannon's head. He said he was cold, the small man said. Hope he's gone someplace warm, I do. You don't usually hope for dead people to go someplace warm.
Sure.
He won't give his sons to crows, but he'll give them to the others, says Girl Nettles. Exactly. Yeah, and he's claiming he's got another mouth to feed and complaining about it. Like that's some BS right there.
Chances are he was more happy that there was a son than there was a daughter, because it is a price that he can give.
Right, because now it's not a mouth to feed.
Right.
Why does all the world hate a crow, says Girl Nettles. His wound, said Sam. Bugger his wound. Dirk prodded the corpse with his foot. His foot was hurt. I knew a man back in my village lost a foot. He lived to 9 and 40. The cold, said Sam. He was never warm. He was never fed, said Dirk. Not proper. That bastard Craster starved him dead. Sam looked around anxiously, but Craster had not returned to the hall. If he had, things might have grown ugly. Wildling hated bastards, though the ranger said he was base-born himself, fathered in a wildling woman by some long-dead crow. Of course, the fact that they think it's a long-dead crow points more towards Brendan.
Blood Raven. Yeah.
In fact, it's pretty strong evidence because the implication is that somebody knew who it was.
Yeah.
And maybe not, though. It may just be that it's so long ago that they were assuming that he's long dead. So
Yeah,
I don't
well,
know.
I mean, you know how George likes to put those little,
Yeah.
I don't want to say breadcrumbs, but just little nuggets here and there.
Yeah.
I mean,
So that line is what makes me lean more towards Brendan than towards Eamon. But
yeah, so do I. I mean, which if giving the White Walkers blood of the Targaryens, then there would be some type of Targaryen blood that was been there at the original Battle for the Dawn.
right.
To the pact, it had to be,
Or at least Valerian. Yeah.
Yeah, Valerian. I mean, yeah. I mean, not necessarily. I mean, Targaryen, but yeah, Valerian.
Just because.
So I mean, in my mind, that leans towards House Dane.
Okay.
I mean, it is suggested that they share an ancient ancestor.
Okay. Yeah. I get where you're going with that.
Yeah.
Craster's got his own to feed, said Giant. All these women? He's giving us what he can. Don't you bloody believe it. The day we leave, he'll tap a keg of mead and sit down to feast on the ham and honey and laugh at us out starving in the snow. He's a bloody wildling is all he is. There's none of them friends to watch. He kicked a band's corpse. Ask him if you don't believe me. They burned the Ranger's corpse at sunset in the fire that Gren had been feeding earlier that day. Tim Stone and Garth of Oldtown carried out the naked corpse and swung him twice between them before heaving him into the flames. The surviving brothers divided up his clothes, his weapons, his armor, and everything else he owned. At Castle Black, the Night's Watch buried its dead with all due ceremony. They were not at Castle Black, though. The bones did not come back as whites. His name was Bannon, Lord Commander Mormont said as the flames took him. He was a brave man, a good ranger. He came to us from... Where did he come from? Down White Harbor way, someone called out. Mormont nodded. He came to us from White Harbor and never failed in his duty. He kept his vows as best he could, rode far, fought fiercely. We shall never see his like again. And now his watch has ended, the Black Brothers said in solemn chant. And now his watch has ended, Mormont echoed. Ended, cried his raven. Ended! Sam was red-eyed and sick from the smoke. When he looked at the fire, he thought he saw Bannon sitting up, his hand coiling into fists, as if to fight off the flames that were consuming him. It was only for an instant before the swirling smoke hid all. The worst thing was the smell, though. If it had been a foul, unpleasant smell, he might have spit it, but his burning brother smelled so much like roast pork that Sam's mouth began to water. And that was so horrible that as soon as the bird squawked, ended, he ran behind the hall to throw up in the ditch. So that's really interesting that his hands coiling into fists is to fight off the flames. Because we do get some of the, you get Kyle Drogo with his whip and so forth, and so I don't know. I just have to wonder why this vision in the flames that Sam is getting. Is it in theory? I suppose he should be seeing the future if you're seeing a vision in the flames, but I don't know.
Ooh, of course, I didn't think about that.
I don't know. That's really Khal Drogo with a whip in the future either. So
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. He was there on his knees in the mud when Dolores' head came up. Digging for worms, Sam, or are you just sick? Sick, said Sam weakly, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. The smell. Never knew Bannon could smell so good. Ed's tone was as morose as ever. I had half a mind to carve a slice off him. If we had some applesauce, I might have done it. Pork's always best with applesauce, I find. Ed undid his laces and pulled out his cock. You best not die, Sam, or I fear I might succumb. There's bound to be more crackling on you than Bannon ever had, and I never could resist a bit of crackling. He sighed as his piss arced out, yellow and streaming. We ride at first light, did you hear? Sun or snow, the old bear tells me. Sun or snow, Sam glanced up anxiously at the sky. Snow, he squeaked. We ride? All of us?
I love Ed. Ed is one of my favorite secondary characters.
Oh, definitely. Well, no, some will need to walk. He shook himself. Tywin now, he says we need to learn to ride dead horses like the others do. He claims it would save on feed. How much could a dead horse eat? Ed laced himself back up. Can't say I fancy the notion. Once they figure a way to work a dead horse, we'll be next. Likely I'll be the first, too. Ed, they'll say, Dogging's no excuse for lying down no more, so get on up and take the spear. You've got the watch tonight. Well, I shouldn't be so gloomy. Might be I'll die before they work it out. Always looking on the bright side there.
There you go. Well,
Sam
it does
always
give you images of dead um, um, Night Watch members standing guard.
Right,
Possibly
right. And of course,
an
does make you
army
wonder
of the undead night.
it does make you wonder if Ed is going to somehow be right and he's going to come back as a white. Yeah.
Yeah. Or possibly there being whites on the side of the Night's Watch.
Well, Lizzie says Sam's always noticing the state of the bodies.
Yeah.
Might be we'll all die, and sooner than we'd like, Sam thought as he climbed awkwardly to his feet. When Craster, of course, unfortunately, that we do know how they can make them come back at this point. Anyway,
Yeah.
When Craster learned that his unwanted guests would be departing on the morrow, the wildling became almost amiable, or as close to amiable as Craster ever got. Pastime, he said. You don't belong here. I told you that. All the same, I'll see you off proper with a feast. Well, a feed. My wives can roast them horses you slaughtered, and I'll find some beer and bread. He smiled his brown smile. Nothing better than beer and horse meat. If you can't ride them, eat them. That's what I say. His wives and daughters dragged out the benches and long log tables and cooked and served as well. Except for Gilly, Sam could hardly tell the women apart. Some were old and some were young and some were older girls, but a lot of them were Craster's daughters as well as his wives, and they all looked sort of alike. As they went about their work, they spoke in soft voices to each other, but never to the men in black. Craster owned but one chair. He sat in it, clad in a sleeveless sheepskin jerkin. His thick arms were covered with white hair, and about one wrist was a twisted ring of gold. Lord Commander Mormont took the place at the top of the bench to his right, while the brothers crowded in knee to knee. A dozen remained outside to guard the gate and tend the fires. Sam found a place between Gren and Orphan Os, his stomach rumbling. The charred horse meat dripped with grease as Craster's wives turned the spits above the fire pit, and the smell of it set his mouth to watering again, but that reminded him of Bannon. Hungry as he was, Sam knew he would retch if he so much as try to bite. How could they eat the poor faithful Garans who'd carried them so far? When Craster's wives brought onions, he seized one eagerly. One side was black with rot, but he cut that part off with his dagger and ate the good half raw.
Hey, doesn't that remind you of Melisandre?
Yes, it's Melisandre. We brought this up when we had the Melisandre quote.
Okay.
Didn't we already have the Melisandre quote? Because I know we brought this up before.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. Because I know we brought this up at the time, so we also already had it. Right, when she tells Davos that you can't, it's either rotted or you can't. If it's hot rotted, it's no good. And here we have Sam just like, oh, it's rotted. He just cuts off half
there
of it off and eats the good half raw.
You just get rid of the bad stuff.
That's what we fans do with these characters too, right? Because you want to love some of them, but they definitely have some bad parts.
Yes, I will give Jamie any excuse to still be golden. So,
of course, there was bread as well, but only 2 loaves. When Omer asked for more, the woman only shook her head. That was when the trouble started. 2 loaves? Clubfoot Carl complained from down the bench. How stupid are you, woman? We need more bread than this. Lord Commander Mormont gave him a hard look. Take what you're given and be thankful. Would you sooner be out in the storm eating snow? We'll be there soon enough. Clubfoot Carl did not flinch from the old bear's wrath. I'd sooner get what Craster's hiding, my lord. Craster narrowed his eyes. I gave you crows enough. I got me woman to feed. Dirk speared a chunk of horse meat. Aye, so you admit you got a secret larder. How else to make it through a winter? I'm a godly man, Craster started. You're a miserly man, said Carl, and a liar. Ham. Of course, he doesn't really say miserly, but anyway.
Yeah, I know. I appreciate it.
Hams, Garth of Old Town said in a reverent voice. There were pigs last time we come. I bet he's got hams hid someplace. Smoked and salted hams. And bacon, too. Sausage, said Dirk. Them long black ones. They're like rocks. They keep for years. But he's got 100 hanging in some cellar. Oats, suggested Allo Lopan. Corn, barley. Corn, said Mormont's raven with a flap of the wings. Corn, 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 corn. Enough, said Lord Commander Mormont over the bird's raucous calls. Be quiet, all of you. This is folly. Apples, said Garth of Greenaway. Barrels and barrels of crisp autumn apples. There are apple trees out there. I saw them. Well, we have seen apple trees up north, by the way, because Bran saw some on
Yeah.
the wall. Dried berries, cabbages, pine nuts, corn, corn, corn. Salt mutton. There's a sheepfold. He's got casks and casks of mutton laid by. You know he does. Craster looked fit to spit them all by then. Lord Commander Mormont rose. Silence! I'll hear no more such talk. Then stuff red in your ears, old man. Clubfoot Carl pushed back from the table. Or did you swallow your bloody crumb already? Sam saw the old bear's face go red. Have you forgotten who I am? Sit, eat, and be silent. That is a command. No one spoke. No one moved. All eyes were on the Lord Commander and the big club-footed ranger as the two of them stared at each other across the table. It seemed to Sam that Carl broke first and was about to sit, though sullenly. Corn, says Mother Baggins says, but Craster stood and his axe was in his hand, the big black steel axe that Mormon had given him as a guest gift. No, he growled, you'll not sit. No one calls me miser or will sleep beneath my roof nor eat at my board. Out with you, cripple, and you, and you, and you. He jabbed the head of the axe toward Dirk and Garth and turned. Go sleep in the cold with empty bellies, the lot of you. Or, bloody bastard, Sam heard one of the Garths curse. He never saw which one. Who calls me bastard? Craster roared, sweeping platter and meat and wine cups from the table with his left hand while lifting the axe with his right. It's no more than all men know, Carl answered. Craster moved quicker than Sam would have believed possible, vaulting across the table with axe in hand. A woman screamed. Garth Greenaway and Orphan Oss drew knives. Carl stumbled back and tripped over Sir Byam, lying wounded on the floor. One instant, Craster was coming after him, spitting curses. The next, he was spitting blood. Dirk had grabbed him by the hair, yanked his head back, and opened his throat ear to ear with one long slash. Then he gave him a rough shove. The wildling fell forward, crashing face first across Sir Byam. Byam screamed in agony as Craster drowned in his own blood, the axe slipping from his fingers. Two of Crasher's wives were wailing, a third cursed, a fourth flew at Sweet Dawdle and tried to scratch his eyes out. He knocked her to the floor. The Lord Commander stood over Craster's corpse, dark with anger. The gods will curse us, he cried. There's no crime so foul as for a guest to bring murder into man's hall. By all the laws of the hearth, There are no laws beyond the wall, old man, remember? Dirk grabbed one of Craster's wives by the arm and shoved the point of his bloody dirk up under her chin. Show us where he keeps the food, or you'll get the same as he did, woman. Unhand her, Mormont took a step. I'll have your head for this, you. Garth of Greenaway blocked his path, and Allo Lophand yanked him back. They both had blades in hand. Hold your tongue, Allo warned. Instead, the Lord Commander grabbed for his dagger. Allo had only one hand, but that was quick. He twisted free of the old man's grasp, shoved the knife into Mormont's belly, and yanked it out again, all red. And then the world went mad. It's not mad enough already? Anyway.
What madness is this? What does Nettle say?
What does I'm a godly man mean? What purpose does it serve to say this? Oh, he's talking about how he has to extend guest right to them and so forth. Later, much later, Sam found himself sitting cross-legged on the floor with Mormont's head in his lap. He did not remember how he'd gotten there, or much of anything else that had happened after the old bear was stabbed. Garth of Greenaway had killed Garth of Oldtown, he recalled, but not why. Wally of Sisterton had fallen from the loft and broken his neck after climbing the ladder to have a taste of Craster's wives. Gren, what madness is this? Says Lizzie as well. All right, I guess that has to count, huh? Gren had shouted and slapped him, and then he'd run away with Giant and Dolorous Ed and some others. Craster still sprawled across Sir Byam, but the wounded knight no longer moaned. 4 men in black sat on the bench eating chunks of burned horse meat while Allo coupled with a weeping woman on the table. So that's where the coupling term came from. Anyway, I was surprised that's actually in the canon. I didn't realize it until I got to this part. Tarly, when he tried to speak, the blood dribbled from the old bear's mouth down into his beard. Tarly, go, go. Where, my lord? His voice was flat and lifeless. I'm not afraid. It was a queer feeling. There's no place to go. The wall. Make for the wall. Now. Now, squawked the raven. Now, now. The bird walked up the old man's arm to his chest and plucked the hair from his beard. You must tell them. Tell them what, my lord? Sam asked politely. All. The fists, the wildlings, dragonglass, this, all. His breathing was very shallow now, his voice a whisper. Tell my son Jorah, tell him, take the black. My wish, dying wish. Wish? The raven cocked its head, beady black eyes shining. Corn? The bird asked. No corn, said Mormont feebly. Tell Jorah, forgive him, my son. Please, go. It's too far, said Sam. I'll never reach the wall, my lord. He was so very tired. All he wanted was to sleep and never wake. And he knew that if he just stayed here soon enough, Dirk or Alla Lophand or Clubfoot Carl would get angry with him and grant his wish, just to see him die. I'd sooner stay with you. See, I'm not frightened anymore of you or of anything. You should be, said a woman's voice. Otherwise, how can a man be brave?
Exactly.
3 of Craster's wives were standing over them. 2 were haggard old women he did not know, but Gilly was between them, all bundled up in skins and cradling a bundle of brown and white fur that must have held her baby. We're not supposed to talk to Craster's wives, Sam told them. We have orders. That's done now, said the old woman on the right. The blackest crows are down in the cellar gorging, said the old woman on the left, or up in the loft with the young ones. They'll be back soon, though. Best you be gone when they do. The horses run off, but Di has caught 2 of them. You said you'd help me, Gilly reminded him. I said John would help you. John's brave, and he's a good fighter, but I think he's dead now. I'm a craven and fat. Look how fat I am. Besides, Lord Mormont's hurt, can't you see? I couldn't leave the Lord Commander. Child, said the other old woman, that old crow's gone before you. Look. Mormont's head was still in his lap, but his eyes were open and staring, and his lips no longer moved. The raven cocked its head and squawked, then looked up at Sam. Corn? No corn. He has no corn. Sam closed the old bear's eyes and tried to think of a prayer, but all that came to mind was, Mother have mercy. Mother have mercy. Mother have mercy. Your mother can't help you none, said the old woman on the left. That dead old man can't either. You take his sword and you take that big warm fur cloak of his, and you take his horse if you can find him, and you go. The girl don't lie, the old woman on the right said. She's my girl, and I'd beat the lion out of her early on. You said you'd help her. Do what Fernie says, boy. Take the girl and be quick about it. Quick, the raven said. Quick, quick, quick. Where? Asked Sam, puzzled. Where should I take her? Someplace warm, the 2 old women said as one. Gilly was crying. Me and the babe, please. I'll be your wife, like I was Craster's. Please, Sir Crow. He's a boy, just like Nella said he'd be. If you don't take him, they will. They, said Sam, and the raven cocked its black head and echoed, They. The boy's brothers, said the old woman on the left. Craster's sons. The white cold's rising out there, Crow. I can feel it in my bones. These poor old bones don't lie. They'll be here soon, the sons. Up next, Storm 34, Arya 6. I sentence you to trial by battle.
The boys' brothers, Craster's sons, the white cold's rising. All right, that leads you to believe that the babies that were donated or sacrificed, donate's probably not the right word, sacrificed for the White Walkers were in themselves turned into White Walkers or something of that type.
That's what they believe.
Then what did they do with the sheep or the pigs or whatever they give them when they didn't have sons?
I don't know. Here come the sons, dude. Here comes the sun. Here comes the... All right. Anyway. Here comes
it's pretty good. I hate the chapter just because Mormont dies, but
oh yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
interesting stuff in there, though. There's a few interesting things in there, especially the fire vision's kind of interesting.
Yeah. You pointed that out. That's another like a Lady Thistle mic drop kind of thing, where I would have never caught it, never thought of it. But you're right. I mean, he sees something in the flames.
Yeah.
Well, if you stop and think about it, a hand curling up, doesn't John sit there and do his hand open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close? So
interesting, and it does make you wonder. Maybe Danny wasn't seeing. Maybe Danny wasn't seeing Drogo.
Maybe not.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. Those are the kind of little nuggets that I think George throws in the book that you got to look far apart to try to put them together.
Yeah. And of course, he keeps bringing up the horn.
Yeah. Every chance. I mean, there's a lot of mentions of that horn.
Yeah.
For it to be nothing but just
Sam has it.
Yeah. For just to be nothing but a cracked horn or whatever, split horn, it does get a lot of page time.
Yeah. Anyway, those are some.
And there are those that point out that the horn is in Old Town, and now you have Euron close to Old Town. So,
and Urswick.
Yeah.
The Bloody Mummers,
theories.
the last
Yeah.
captain of the Bloody Mummers is on his way there too.
Well, the theories for when's the winter are aplenty for Euron and Old Town and Sam and the Horn and
First with the faithful.
yeah, there you go. There was something else I wanted to say, and I can't remember what it is now. I try not to interrupt when you read, but if I don't, I forget what I was going to say.
Oh, we also had the line about the hand wound to the White Bull.
Right. Now, there are those that say that he did injure the White Bull's hand, and there are those that say that he injured somebody's hand, but it might not necessarily have been the White Bull.
On the one hand, I understand why. The logic there, right? Which was the Order of the Green Hands logic is that you wouldn't necessarily know which White Cloak was which.
Yeah.
People don't exactly show people pictures of people and say this is so and so, right? Nobody knows what anybody looks like in a world without photography and without video.
Well, I mean, unless he's been to King's Landing and been to court or been to attorney,
right?
I mean, just like the White Walkers, that they all look alike. The Kingsguard in armor all look alike. So, I mean, it could have been somebody else. You never know.
So Charles says Euron won't take Hightower.
Yeah,
okay?
of course. Nope.
No, I'm sure. Now, LML would claim that Euron's going to take it and crown himself there. That's what LML claims.
No.
Anyway, I don't have a firm grip on what's going to happen there. It does feel like it does feel like we've been set up that the Hightowers really do know their stuff and maybe magic or something, right? And so I don't know. It sure seems like that it's been implied that this is this powerful family that he's got in his back pocket.
Is the tower itself the magic, or is the base of the tower that I would think would be easily accessible? The black stone at the base of it, would that be the source of the power, or the top of the tower?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I don't know. And there is that line from the prologue of Feast about it being as tall as tall enough to see the wall or whatever, right?
Yeah. So I mean, does he go to the top of that and blow the broken horn and watch the wall fall? There has to be a reason for George to say you can see the wall from here, which I don't. Yeah. The logic, I mean, the logistics of that alone, with the curvature of the Earth and everything in the line of sight, I don't know. I'm not a physicist or engineer or anything like that.
Doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, we got one that's 1,000 feet tall. You got another one 700 feet tall. Then you got to figure in the curvature of the Earth. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense.
You also got mountains between there, because you got the mountains that the northern tribes live in, and Bran and them travel through.
Here's the quote. Some claimed a man could see all the way to the wall from the top. Perhaps that was why Lord Leighton had not made the descent in more than a decade, preferring to rule the city from the clouds. Anyway.
Hey, Mother.
Hey, family. Good to see you, Mother Ryan. And yeah, I think I heard somebody claim that quote doesn't exist, but obviously it does. Of course, lots of people claim quotes don't exist that do.
Well, I mean, it's just like your own memories. All right, you remember things a certain way, and it not necessarily happened that way. Or you remember somebody saying something, but it's not word for word for what they say. You tend to skew what you remember in the book.
You don't have a Westerosi physicist doctorate? Disappointing.
Nope.
Yeah,
nope.
Yeah. I don't think anybody should claim that something's not in the books, because that's. I've seen that from both. Two people, two channels I definitely respect. Both LML and Order of the Green Hand have went through and they're like, there's no evidence that Danny's going to go mad. I'm like, yeah, there is.
It's all about how you interpret the words on the page.
I went through carefully, and there's no evidence. I'm like, we pointed out little quotes here and there that are that are clearly implying it.
Like,
I think they have a link for that at the Citadel.
okay.
For the physics, I wonder which metal is physics.
I got my chain. I mean, it'll be all right.
The Hightower family will use laser beams to set boats on fire by focusing through glass. Oh, interesting
There you go.
theory, Motherlode.
That would be nice to see because that's an actual historical thing that George could pull from. And yeah, I like that. I mean, I would like to see George pull from history like he normally does, and something that is rumored to, even though Mythbusters tried to replicate it, they couldn't. That doesn't necessarily mean that it wasn't done because we're told that it was done. So yeah, I would love to see that in the book. But on the core half end, I know who was talking to me the other day, but they were talking. I don't think that the Corn and Mance and none of the people or anybody, they are who they are. And then I didn't say it at the time, and I'm like, okay, why does George say? I want to say it's 2 to 3 times he calls the men from the Shadow Tower the bearded men from the Shadow Tower, and then we have 2 men from the Shadow Tower that are clean shaven.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pointed out that King Ares made his Kingsguard go clean shaven. So, I mean, George has to put the words on the page for a reason, and that's reason enough for me to go, I might want to pay attention a little bit more to these 2 people from the Shadow Tower that are clean shaven in the north where the snow and the cold where everybody else is.
He's done so much of this this people not recognizing people stuff too, right? With like you've got, well, I mean, the first one that stuck out to me was like Malister not recognizing Cat when she studied him boldly and sees no recognition in his eyes, right?
Yeah.
But you've got Tom and Marcella don't recognize Arya. I mean, it happens over and over again, right? The people made lists, but yeah, my favorite one is the Hound. It's like the most recognizable person on the planet.
You got Marcella and her. I don't know what they call their little friend, the relative friends that come along with them. You got her little cousin that other people will have an extremely hard time telling the 2 apart. They're both Lannister blood. They both have the golden hair. They both have the green eyes. They look very similar.
They're taking advantage of that, right?
Yeah, it's just like in Star Wars with the fake Natalie Portman. I forget where the character.
Yep.
Yeah, Natalie Portman. Where they had the fake princess and all that stuff. I mean, it was done in history. George is going to pull from history. It's going to be done in this book. So I kind of agree with. Okay, yeah, they pulled a little switch here on, and they did it without glamour. They did it without magic. It's just the
Hound is the funniest one though, right? Because it's like he's literally telling you a former Kingsguard who's the most recognizable man on the planet can go right up to see the king at a feast and not be recognized, right? And yet we're people are like, oh well, there's no way Arthur Dayne could do that. He'd be recognized. And they're like, what do you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know me and you don't agree on that. I think that Mance Rayder is a glamour. But I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I agree with everything you're saying is correct. It's just I read it a little different way, but it's okay.
I mean, Kat just has her hair is a little wild. We're talking about somebody who went from short dark hair to long gray hair, and the same time period has passed, right?
Well, I think it's like with Varys. Not everything he does is going to be glamour. A lot of some stuff he's going to be done is going to be murmur tricks. But with the ability to go unrecognized in this story, with so much as the person that's coming towards you, that's a high lord, sees somebody on a horse that's peasant looking, not the lady from Winterfell, doesn't pay him any attention. Well, I mean, the jailer or the person covered in his own feces, walking through.
Mermaid tricks. It's supposed to be conjure tricks, or mummers, or both, right?
mermaid trick.
We're
There you go.
specifically told
Yeah.
he knows
Well, I
all the
mean,
conjurer's tricks too.
yeah. Well, I think Varys has a lot at his disposal of what he can and can't do as far as uh, looking differently. Me and you both think he's Dorcas, and I think that's done with glamour.
Could
But
be.
I mean,
But that's one of the reasons why I think that Alaris is potentially female, right? Because the Sphinx in there's so many Jungian references in the books, and Jung definitely says that the Sphinx is the man and the woman, and the masculine and the man, or the masculine and the woman, and the feminine and the man, and so forth, right? But in addition, you've got the argument is, well, Arya couldn't get away with it. How could Alaris have for? And my answer is because glamour.
yeah.
You're hanging out with the. I get that you actually think that. I think you probably think that Alaris is probably like the twin brother or something, right? But
Yeah, I like that better. I mean, nobody likes my theory that he's the original Aegon that was
okay.
saved.
Okay.
Look,
I forgot that one. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Before I even thought or even heard that it could be Sorella or anything, I'm reading this page and I'm saying to myself, here is this extremely good-looking, slender person from Dorne, has Dornish bloodline, that has money because somebody's paying for him to be there. He's got money to support his drinking. He's got money to support his bow, his arrows. His bow's not cheap. His scarlet feathered, or whatever called, the arrows that he's shooting over water that he's never going to get back. That every arrow that he shoots is just money thrown away. So he's got money behind them. Who could possibly be fronting and paying for this guy in the story? Because I mean, Targaryens are good looking. I mean, women want them, men want to be them, that type of thing. So it gave me a lot of Targaryen vibes when I first read it, and then my first thought was, all right, well, if baby Fagon, not Fagon, baby Aegon, was actually swapped, even though we're told he's swapped, even though we know that the kid Fagon is not the right age, all that stuff. But what if he was really swapped? What if that part of the story is true, and it's just it wasn't swapped to the character that is said to be? What if he was actually swapped? He has Dornish bloodline. What if Oberon's playing the long game? Or Dorn playing the long game, and he's making. He knows that Aegon's alive. He's supporting him. He sends him to the Old Town because you got like Aemon went to Old Town. That was royal blood. Well, I'll hide him at Old Town. He's a royal. I mean, it was just that was my way of thinking when I read through it. And yeah, I know it's extremely far fetched. A lot of thin tinfoil. He's probably Sorella or Sorella's twin brother. But I mean, like I said, that was my thinking at the time. And I'm not going to knock something that I thought when I first read it. I mean, people can laugh at it or disagree with it. I'm fine with that. So I was just trying to let people know what my thought process was and what I originally thought. And then if it gets a chuckle, I'm great. Anytime I can make somebody laugh, I'm happy.
So you might want to. Are you aware of Toodle's parentage theory of Arion and who Arion's father is?
No, you send it to me.
Okay, it's. I mean, the short answer is that her father is Oberyn and his father is the Mad King.
Oh,
and there's some good textual evidence to support that idea. It's some wording and things that definitely.
Can you see
it's one of the ones I like.
Is that camera
That's one of the ones I like. That's one of the ones I like because you've got the whole laying pipe thing in Dorne and so from the World Book you've got some history that seems to imply that Ares was sleeping with Scalera, right? Because I believe that Scalera didn't change her name at all, because the whole point of this books is that people erase powerful women, and so she didn't change her name, and people still forgot her. Right?
Yeah.
Still didn't realize that Septa Scalera is Princess Scalera, and George doesn't want to tell us that, because if he says Scalera, that kind of ruins the
Right.
fun. Right.
Well,
So
I mean, King Ares was definitely a player.
So anyway, I think Scalera being his mom, right? So, Scalera Martel being the mom, and George not wanting to say Scalera because it makes it less fun. But anyway, so there's evidence that Scalera was it's implied that Scalera was sleeping with Ares at about the time when Oberyn was conceived, and then you've got Oberyn's referred to as
Ares
half
not
mad.
like the fact that
Oberyn's called half mad. Right.
No, I'm talking about, no, but doesn't Ares not like the fact that Rhaegar married a Dornish woman? Really?
Yeah, well, typical hypocrisy.
Okay.
That's totally like George to be ironic that way, right? But anyway,
yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, it gives you Tywin vibes, kind of a little bit. No, you can't have whores. And he's probably got a whore daughter. Aliyaya, whatever her name is, and he's also with Shay.
I mean, arranged the marriage. Like, who is he to complain? He arranged the marriage.
he did whatever he could to just piss off Tywin. I mean, he made his own bed on that one.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the realm if Tywin and King Ares came to an agreement that Rhaegar had married Cersei, and Cersei had given them 3 children? There would have been no Robert's Rebellion.
Yep.
Wouldn't have been a need for another woman.
Doesn't Tyrion say that if she just had one, would have prevented all these problems?
Yeah, anyway. Just one. I think he did, but the baby's hidden in his Gendry. That's why I think Gendry's the Azor Ahai. But
anyway,
I don't believe in it as much as I believe in who Tormund is, but I do like the theory that Gendry is Azor Ahai. Yeah, that's true. Well, no. Hear me out. Cersei is is exactly who Robert helped make her be.
Sure.
She became exactly who the having Robert Baratheon as a husband molded her, shaped her, steered her into the Cersei we have now. If she had married Rhaegar, and because Rhaegar is not Robert for sure, would she be the same person that she is in the story? I don't think so. I think she'd be probably a great queen.
I think part of the whole concept of Jaime and Cersei is supposed to be that the Targaryens are attracted to Targaryens, and Rhaegar being a Targaryen, she probably would have been much happier.
Oh yeah. Which the marriage alliance would have been made before Jaime was made. I mean, if there wasn't that, I mean, I think there's a lot of hidden fingers going on, because Ares and Tywin were friends. They were buddies. I mean, they were war buddies with Stefan Baratheon. Everything was going great, and then there had to be a rift between the two to separate the families. What'd she say?
She says that, but if she'd married Rhaegar and hadn't made him all happy, she would resent him for that and still be a dick. She's misery, and misery loves company. Yeah, and he would have still probably wanted Lyanna Stark, and
well, I mean, he only went to Lyanna because his wife wasn't able to have another child. He needed another child. I think the love part came a little.
Was she even that old?
Necessity? What?
I thought they were younger than teenagers.
Cersei was younger.
I thought she was younger than a teenager.
Yeah, she was 9.
Yeah, she wasn't even a tween.
No. But I mean, I mean, like you have with Joffrey and Sansa. I mean, you had the betrothal. So I mean, they were all prepared to have somebody go back on that ship. So I mean, oh no, that was with overall.
No, that was actually smuggling Joanna out.
Yeah.
All right, we've gone
agree.
on long enough with enough Toodles tinfoil today.
That's all right. But hey, send me that one though. Send me the link to that one.
All right.
You know, I love to read me some Toodles.
All right, sounds good.
If I only have time to watch Edric Stolskin or read the Toodles, I'll read the Toodles.
Oops.
Sorry. Oh. Okay. Well, I guess he said bye. All right. As on every Friday, I want to hopefully you have a good weekend.
Sorry about that.
He's back.
I was trying to click on Cersei Was Born Bad, and somehow I
Hit
don't
goodbye.
know. I don't know what I did. I hit back. I think I hit back, and I think I sent a back gesture on my phone that sent me back.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Being the Mad King's daughter, Cersei was probably predestined to be mad.
Yeah, she's very similar to Ares, so there is that.
Well, I mean, you got Cersei and Jaime. They're two sides of the same coin. They're both Targaryen blood, but you have Jaime that in his heart of hearts truly wants to be a true knight, and he's going to be the good side of a Targaryen eventually, and she's the bad side of the Targaryen. So the coin was split. The coin was split.
Besides that,
yeah,
I do like the fact.
I think he also just that day he got the white cloak,
right,
and then found out the only reason he got it was for Ares to stick it to his dad, and I mean, to watch the Mad King day after day after day, you would become jaded too. I mean, it's just they're all products of their environment, but they do have. I mean, it's nature over nurture, but there is still some genetics going on as far as being the Mad King's daughter with Cersei. But okay,
yep. All right. Well,
we've gone an hour and 17 minutes.
Yeah, we're way long.
That's okay.
It was a long chapter, but we're having fun here, getting caught up.
Yeah. I mean, well, we haven't talked all week, so I mean,
yep.
That's my fault. Sorry, but okay.
No
every Friday. I hope everybody has a good, safe weekend. We want to see you here Monday. We care about you. We thank you for joining us. The Valonqar, you keep leaving messages. Like I said at the beginning of this, it doesn't tell me when people leave messages because I was looking at it today, and then I got like 12 messages from Lady Thistle. I got like 4 from the Valonqar. Richard's in there with some. I'm like, oh my goodness, man, it all adds up. I'm sorry, but
nobody wants to jump
I do my best to try to stay on top of the comments. But we thank y'all and appreciate y'all. Have a good weekend. See you Monday.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Richard.